to welcome everybody to February's Tech Night. I do see actually quite a few new faces in the crowd, which is really wonderful this evening, particularly given the weather today and earlier this afternoon. Can I just get a quick show of hands? Who has not been to a Tech Night or Bricks before? Okay, that's more than half the room. That's spectacular. And again, particularly given the weather, and maybe there's some kind of allegory about this group not being afraid of the snow and outdoors and wanting to hear about the outdoors and recreational opportunities. For folks that are new to Tech Night, we do this once a month, the second Thursday of every month. We do keep it, as we like to say, very casual and collegiate. So feel free to get up, move around, spill beer on the ground, and again, stretch your legs. And exactly. Our sponsors are very kind to us, so we have delicious food and drinks this evening. So again, it's wonderful to see everybody this evening. For those of you that have not attended in the past, Central Maine Tech Night is a monthly evening event where in our small group setting, founders and leaders share real advice on how they overcame challenges, capitalized on their target market, and developed their product, providing you with actionable insight for your own products and processes. You may find more about Central Maine Tech Night on Facebook or online at centralmaine.org at our Tech Night tab. I would like to say thank you always to our wonderful sponsors. This evening, this free event is being presented by the Central Maine Growth Council and is sponsored by CGI, Thomas College's Harold Alfond Institute for Business Innovation, Valley Beverage, and Bricks Co-working Innovation Space here at 10 Water Street in downtown Waterville, Maine. To that end, I'd like to welcome the folks watching from home. This Tech Night is being streamed live and can be viewed on Crossroads TV on channel 1301. And thank you to Crossroads TV and Chad and his team. We have an awesome Tech Talk for you this evening, really exciting, great time of year, a great time, I think, within our economy, particularly locally and regionally, to talk about Back 40. Who is familiar with Back 40? Just a quick show of hands. So Back 40 really has an awesome and growing following in Maine. Tonight's Tech Talk is Tech and Recreation, how Back 40 uses tech to facilitate access to the outdoors, by Henry Gilbert, the founder. A competitor on Season 5, Greenlight Maine, Henry Gilbert of Back 40 built an online platform to help Mainers and tourists easily access our state's great outdoors. The Portland, Maine-based startup features an online, on-demand outdoor gear rental service that enables customers to reserve, pre-assemble camping kits and an a la carte rental system for local pickup and campsite delivery. In his Tech Talk, Henry will share his story founding Back 40, how he conceived and built the rental platform and the logistics chain, from his plans for the future growth to how his product uses technology to boost outdoor recreation in Maine and beyond. Please help me in welcoming Henry.
Well, thank you all for inviting me here tonight. This is my first time in Bricks. It's awesome. I'm going to keep this presentation pretty short and then just open it up, and hopefully we can have a discussion about some of the topics. So, like I said, my name is Henry Gilbert. I'm the founder of Back 40, which is an on-demand, subscription-based gear rental service, but that's not how it started. So a couple of years ago, it was in the fall of 2017, I had this idea to build a marketplace for outdoor adventures. So working with Maine guides so people could book trips directly through this single platform. Didn't do any market research, just went for it, built the platform, launched it in time for that summer, and it flopped. Great learning experience. So rather than kind of folding it all together, we realized that we needed to go back to the drawing board a little bit. We opened it up for free, had our guides continue to keep listing trips for free, just for exposure. They could submit articles, we were promoting them. Meanwhile, we were building great relationships with a lot of guides throughout the state and throughout New England. But we realized that we needed to kind of home in on a more specific problem. And so this is the original platform kind of. We need to home in on this more specific problem, and we need an answer to this question. So what is keeping people from accessing the outdoors? So we polled our online following, our existing users, and we talked to a lot of industry experts. And overwhelmingly, it came down to three things. It was time, experience, and money, the three kind of big barriers. And really, it was the experience and time. At first we thought it's money, it's financial barrier, but really the time and experience side. And the kind of underlying theme here, the common denominator with all of this is outdoor equipment. It's expensive, it takes up space, it's a hassle to maintain, and quite frankly, you need to know how to use it. And a lot of us here in Maine take that for granted. We grew up with it. We know how to use gear. We know what gear you need for what kind of adventures. But a lot of people don't, and those are real barriers. Just that kind of intrinsic, knowing the know-how. So we came up with this kind of simple solution. We were going to build an on-demand outdoor gear rental marketplace. And so we launched a pretty simple e-commerce website that allowed people to reserve camping gear, these kits and everything. We launched it in the spring of 2019. Actually did very well for operating out of a closet, literally a closet in my apartment with next to no ad budget. But we had to figure out how to get in front of people now. We spent all this time building this platform, and we hadn't spent all this time figuring out exactly who the customer is, or more precisely, how to get in front of them at the right time. We found that people were renting gear when they've already booked their campsite, they already planned their trip to Maine, they already have all these details in place. So how do we get them right then and there? So we started advertising, just some on Google with targeting kind of the low-hanging fruit, people that were already searching for camping gear rentals, which is great. We started generating revenue through that low-hanging fruit. But what about all the people who didn't even know this was an option? Most people aren't even going to go to Google and search for gear rentals. They don't even think of that as a possibility. We actually kind of came up with this little hack before we got the site live, which was listing these camping kits on Airbnb, which was great. People booked them, which was really interesting because people were there to rent apartments or houses. They weren't there to find camping gear. That didn't last very long because Airbnb kicked us off because you're not allowed to do that. But it was interesting that people weren't even there to do that. So we were proving that it's an option that people don't know about, but once they know about it, they realize they can do it. But so we needed to figure out how to get in front of these people better. It was expensive to target people and make sure we stayed in front of them until that moment that they were going to purchase. So we kind of thought about it, and we're like, well, what if we target people who are likely candidates, who are likely to go camping, or likely to go on these outdoor adventures on their own, and get them to pay up front for unlimited access throughout the year. So basically at that point, we no longer have to sell to somebody every time, every trip, over and over and over again. We have to provide enough value for them not to cancel after a year. And in their terms, they don't have to be actively planning a trip. They just have to know that they are likely to go on these kinds of trips, or likely to do this throughout the year. So now it takes that targeting from that one day where they're ready to make that decision to, okay, now I have access to this. I'm more likely to do it because I have access. So that's where our subscription or membership-based on-demand access or gear rental service came from, which is what we're rolling out currently. It provides us with an opportunity to increase our market. We are working now with some colleges in southern Maine. We have 4 different levels. We have a solo membership, couples membership, family memberships, and a student membership. We broke down our product or our service into 3 separate products. We have Back 40 Now, which is our platform. It's our website, it's our reservation system, it's our content platform, and it's our biggest sales tool. It's our lead generation machine. So that's kind of product number 1. But then we have these gear closets, which we're hoping to actually open our first one in a few months. At this point, we've been operating out of some partner locations and out of my apartment. So the gear closets themselves are the physical rental sites. They're our storefronts, maintenance and distribution, and we want to locate these through, in key gateways being Portland, areas like that, and then destinations, so the Acadia region and things like that. And then finally, the memberships. As I was just saying, these memberships we're offering annual and seasonal. providing access at all gear locations, and that's the big thing. Right now, we're just here in Maine, but we're looking to expand through this kind of replication. So then wherever you're traveling, if you're a Gear Closet member, you can reserve gear there at your destination, whether it's at the other Portland or if you're just going up to Acadia. So that's ultimately one of the biggest selling points in our kind of growth plan. And also, we've built these relationships now with campgrounds and guides throughout New England and beyond. So part of the membership, it goes beyond just access to the gear. There's exclusive discounts on campsites, on guided experiences, and yeah. So that's kind of how we got to this point. I'm going to switch it up a little bit and just talk about a few of the lessons that I've learned getting here. And the first one is go to market now. I've seen so many people, trying to refine their idea and over and over again. But if you never go to market, you never have a product. You never have an audience. And I understand this fear of putting something out there that's not perfect and everyone rejects it and then you're done for. But that's not how it goes. You put something out there, most people in the world don't even know it's there. You're not ruining your audience, and people are happy to see you grow and thrive. So that's the biggest thing that we learned. And that, when we put out that first adventure marketplace, it wasn't the right product. We didn't think everything through, but at the same time, we gained a following. People were interested in it. It just all the pieces didn't work. But it gave us that building block, which leads to the next one, which is iterate rapidly. Just, don't worry about every rollout being this, perfect package. Fail fast, fail forward. If we're talking about something that is really pure tech, roll out little pieces at a time. It's not necessary to have, these major updates, because you can roll out something small, it doesn't work, you can pull it back. You're not ruining your entire project, your product. The other one, I'm just kind of master of nothing. I am a master of nothing, and I realize that you don't have to be a master of something in order to build a company. There are so many resources, especially here in Maine, which kind of leads me to the last one, which is don't chase the funding. There's, seek advice, seek expertise, all of that. It's way more valuable. This isn't Silicon Valley, and that's a good thing. And I always tell people, there's not a ton of capital here in Maine to go after, but it's good because it makes people spend a couple of years working on their product and getting it to that point where you're actually ready for capital. I tell people, if someone gave me $1 million 2 years ago, I would have spent it building the wrong product, and I'd probably be right where I am, if not further back at this point. So that's what I have to say. Now I want to open it up and just kind of have a discussion, answer questions. Yeah.
Could you describe a little the gear closet? Like, what's the sort of fundamental element there? These are places that you're either leasing for location, and how does one get and then send back the equipment, as it were, and what's the logistics?
Right. Yeah, so the gear closets are basically our storefronts, but they're not a Main Street storefront. They're more of a distribution site, but that also welcomes people into them. But at this point, so we're doing this local pickup, also with our corporate clients, office delivery, because we're offering this as basically an employee benefit or perk. Companies can buy in as a whole to get access. So there's the pickup and drop off, which is in its simplest form. You swing by, or you place your reservation on the website, you swing by on that day, pick up your gear, drop it back off when you're done. And then we had, last year we were doing just any campground delivery basically. And we were partially doing that for just market exposure and making it super easy for people. And now we're kind of tuning that back a little bit and working with specific campgrounds that we're partners with. So we can say, we can deliver to these locations. We'll deliver to these campgrounds or these partner locations, these partner businesses. Does that answer your question?
But a gear closet's actually manned by a human?
Oh yes, yeah, it's a storefront. Yeah, so that because it's the inventory center. It's where the maintenance of the gear is going on. Yeah.
Have you guys thought, is there an opportunity like a vending element to it, where you set these closets together and there's a credit card swipe in and enough coverage that if someone didn't bring it back, they own it, sort of stuff?
Yeah, we've thought about it. Yeah, we've looked into, especially, again, working with the campgrounds. We're saying, okay, well, we could actually have some of these kind of smart lockers at campgrounds or near these clusters of campgrounds.
Is that viable? Is that an
It's
option for you guys? Or is that just too much too fast?
It's a potential. The volume isn't there. You know, when you look at like Amazon lockers or at Whole Foods or something, like they're getting used multiple times a day, and we're talking about, you know, something might be in there for you know, a full day and then empty for a while. But we're looking at it, and I've talked to some folks in the kind of smart locker world. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the folks at Minnow who were here. Now they're out in Portland, Oregon, but they do it for food delivery in corporate offices. But again, they're doing multiple meals a day in these little smaller pods. But it's something that we've thought about a lot and are curious about. Yep.
I'm curious, are you focused on camping gear? What kinds of gear?
Yeah, so we launched with camping gear. So that was the big thing last summer, and we did these camping kits. So, you know, it would, if you got the solo or couples kit, it would come with, you know, a tent for two, 2 sleeping bags, 2 sleeping pads, kind of all the essentials. But we're looking to expand in, you know, one of the first places we're moving into snowshoes and inflatable paddle boards. And then ultimately into kayaks and canoes, and more of the leisure things. We're not looking at the alpine ski industry or anything like that. But yeah, we want it to be, and then expanding the kind of definition of the outdoor stuff too, and looking at, okay, well, what else are you doing? Like, you also can rent your beach gear because you have this membership, so you don't have to own all this gear, especially if you live in a more urban area and you don't have that storage space.
I'll wait.
Sure.
Yeah, the employer, you know, as a benefit, offering it as a benefit is pretty interesting. Have you gotten traction with that? I mean, I can see a lot of the employers are looking for an interesting way to have like a wellness program or something along those lines. Seems like it'd be a good complement to that.
Yeah, so we're just launching that now, but you know, looking at the numbers, it's a really affordable option. It's a way to you know, encourage employees that even if they're not going to take this 2-week-long vacation, that escape for a long weekend, go into the woods, rejuvenate, and you know, depending on, you know, it kind of scales with the size of the company, obviously. But you know, for a bigger company, we're looking at really steep discounts on a per employee basis. So yeah, it's a new offering. We are doing some corporate retreats too, and corporate retreat planning services. So we're combining some guided experiences with campgrounds and putting together these packages, and those two kind of go hand in hand.
This is a quick follow-up question. I mean, how have you been approaching? Have you been approaching employers directly, or maybe through like insurance brokers, or?
At this point, directly, smaller companies in Portland. Yeah, we've definitely looked into the insurance broker thing, and it will require us to be a little bit bigger scale for them to want to take that on. But there are definitely, as we grow, there are easier ways into some of these companies.
Do you deploy a real sort of intentional or purposeful, like pay-per-click strategy or SEO? I just typed you guys in Maine camping gear, and other than the ads, you guys are right up there.
Yeah.
How do you go about it?
Yeah, I mean, we're content heavy. That's definitely a big piece. We, you know, from the very beginning, before we had any product to offer, we were, you know, either gathering third-party articles or writing our own, working with guides to write content. So that's definitely a huge piece of it, and that's the piece going forward. I mean, we're working on a whole other product, which is, you know, not a product for sale, but these destination guides that are really built out. You know, it's not the TripAdvisor kind of thing where it's just ranked on the reviews. So we've been kind of building out that content as it is, and that, you know, part of that is part of, you know, we think of it as a product because it's something that people are going to come to the site for, to stay on the site for, but really it's also driving the our search. Yep.
Can you touch on how you source your product?
With regards to gear and just kind of that logistics and chain. And then number 2, as it relates, I'm assuming that's kind of a big part of your cash flow. How long does that have to sit? Like, how long do you turn it over? I'm sure, you know, you want this gear to be in good shape too. That's kind of customer service aspect of it as well.
Yeah, and that's a big piece because we can't use this gear until it's dead. You know, the tents can't have holes in them. But we work with nonprofits to give you know, Teens to Trails and folks like that. At this point, we haven't had a lot of gear that's been used up totally. But so on the sourcing side, I mean, I honestly thought that was going to be a more difficult challenge than it was. got in touch with brands directly, and they were happy to give us sub-wholesale pricing. And we realized what we're doing is that all of our customers who use this gear are using their gear. So we're actually looking at developing these exclusive relationships, getting those prices down even more. Obviously, we don't necessarily want them to go out and buy it, but if someone rents stuff and they want to buy something and they like the tent that they were in, they're most likely to go buy that tent. And brands realize that. So they've given us great deals on our equipment.
Just as a follow-up, I think, Mainers, I think a lot of folks in New England like their gear,
Mhm.
are very exposed to the outdoors. Do you have to be very brand or certainly quality conscious?
Yeah, and at this point, we're not looking to go after the super high-end gear, the ultralight. We're not even really looking at the backpacking industry anyway. Most people that are really into backpacking, they're going to have their own gear. Right. And so we are going after more of that kind of mass market, the people that don't necessarily want to own it. So yeah, and we want the gear to be quality. We want to know that we're not sending them out there and something that's going to fall on their head. It's interesting because one of our biggest competitors is actually Walmart. When we think about why people are renting, and a lot of people, it's because they've been planning this camping trip and it's the week of, and they realize that their tent poles actually broke last year. So what do? They go to Walmart on the way, and they get an Ozark Trails tent, and it doesn't matter for them if it breaks. So that's kind of the biggest barrier to get over is showing them that it's worth it to have something that's a little bit higher quality. And at this point, they're not really paying that much more for it because they might not be willing to go buy a $400 tent. They're going to go buy that $35 tent, and they might buy that $35 tent every year.
Just curious from a pricing standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
is there any kind of I don't want to call it surge pricing, but is it 4th of July weekend, is that more expensive? Or is it all just kind of flat?
Yeah, it's especially for the memberships, it's flat, but we're looking at like ski resorts do with blackout dates and things like that. So depending on the level of membership that you have. But for the one-off rentals, we're not increasing the price depending on the year. More that we're decreasing it in the shoulder seat,
Yeah.
Do you guys see your website over time to be a platform for affiliate revenue? Because obviously what you're going to see that other people don't is a massive trend of what actually is a high quality product versus other. You can vouch for it. That manufacturer obviously gives you a little bit of a better commission if it goes through your site onto theirs.
Right. We've thought about it, and we've done a little bit of it in the past. But again, it's kind of we've thought really hard about those and those relationships too. Do we want to promote people to even go and buy this stuff? Part of what we're doing is saying that if you don't need to have this yourself, if you're only going to do it once a year, then don't waste your space and don't waste material and just go through us. So there is that. We want to have those relationships with the brands. We want to get the good price. We want people to, if they want to go buy something, to go buy their gear. But we don't necessarily want to get into the position of promoting that for them to go buy.
Can you touch on, if you feel comfortable, how you kind of bootstrap this or not, or just kind of your general stack and what that's looked like in the past and maybe moving forward?
Yeah. It's kind of been all over the place. We have raised a little bit of money. We got a Libra grant, which anyone who's under 27, I think it is, should absolutely go for a Libra grant. And that was really for market research. We tested a lot of content. It was great because we were able to use that. It's meant to be kind of a market research grant, but when doing market research, you're building an audience too. You're actively marketing in order to do that research, which is great. We raised a small amount of money right at the very beginning. Like a kind of super pre-seed, just to test out some ideas. And we just, we did a lot of the work on the site ourselves and things like that. And neither of us, there's two of us, neither of us are, really tech people. But we kind of pieced it together. Going back to the not being a master of anything, you can learn how to put together something fairly simple. So, we just did as much of it as we could in-house and yeah, and try not to spend more money than we had.
Are there any experience or trends in the future that worry you or excite you, specifically around camping?
No, I think that there are definitely other companies getting into the rental market, besides local independent rental shops. some of them are most of them are in California, and they're going for like the Amazon version of this, and they're offering nationwide shipping and all of that. And you have to place your order at least 7 days in advance, which we found that most people rent last week. I also don't really know how they're shipping 50-pound boxes 2 ways for any kind of, yeah. So that's definitely one piece of the businesses stepping in. But as far as the camping industry goes, I mean, more and more people are camping. I know that we just saw some reports that fewer people actually got outdoors this year, but the camping industry is still growing. There were 8 million new campers, not meaning infants, but people who tried camping for the first time this year, which is significant. So I think that we're on a kind of upward trajectory there. People are actually coming back to tent camping a little bit. They're also, like the glamping industry, it's what we hear about that, and the RV industry. But a lot of people are also getting fed up with the kind of over commercialized campgrounds and want to go back to something a little more rustic, or like they remembered when they were a kid, or that they've heard about. So yeah, I mean, I think it's mostly the competition, but there's nobody doing what we're doing and what we're trying to do. So I think we have that to our advantage. Yeah.
Are you working with Maine tourism agencies?
Yeah, we've done a little bit with them, and we've also worked with the Maine State Parks a bit, which has been good. It's also a little bit difficult, but I know that they've got this relationship with Tenter, if you're familiar with those folks. Tenter, they have these canvas wall tents that they set up, and you can do it on private land. And Maine State Park System is the first public entity that's worked with them. And that's kind of the other competition side, like these other forms of camping that didn't exist before. Yeah, so today I spent a lot of time doing some research on Maine tourism and seeing how we can work with them now, because it's all been kind of what we were doing before. We're like, okay, well, we haven't really revisited on this new model and how we could work together.
There's the new office of outdoor
Yeah.
recreation.
Mm-hmm. Carolina's great. Yeah. Yep.
Talk a little more about what role the guides play in your business, and people access guides through you?
Yeah, so at this point, we do still have, actually they're kind of hidden right now, but we do still have all the guide listings, and they can be contacted directly through us, and that's kind of how we had it operating for a year after we took the booking part of that down. Was just having a contact form so people could find a guide, have like examples of a trip, and then book them or contact them directly through the site. Now we are working a little more specifically with a handful of guides to create some of these packages for these corporate retreats. But when we bring that, when we're ready to relaunch that kind of destination guide thing, that part of that is going to have the guides and experiences in different regions. So it'll be like campsites, guides, places to go, things to see. But we're really focusing on the guides and the campgrounds and that. Yep. Mm-hmm.
You kind of touched on this already, but where do you kind of see the future of this space with regards to kind of like 2.0, what's the cutting edge, kind of what's the sexy trend, what's kind of the big money maybe in Silicon Valley that's working on something similar, in your opinion? And maybe number two, where do you see yourself within that context for the next 3 or 5 years?
Yeah, the first one, I don't know if I really have an answer.
In our phone and,
Yeah, well, the idea that what we want to get to is we really want to build that platform out. We want it to be, the kind of thing where you're a member and all you have to do is you can be going anywhere you want. You could be like, on the plane or whatever and pull out your phone and reserve your gear for whatever destination you're going to, and have it be that simple, especially for the members who know that wherever they're going, it's transferable. It's not, attached to a single location. So I think that is kind of, and it's interesting because this concept has evolved too over, the past couple of years, even when we started doing the rentals. But at first we were thinking of bringing in these different rental partners that already exist in places. So it would work the same way, wherever you're going, you just book that gear and it's at that shop. There's a lot of issues with kind of quality control and even that kind of consistency of gear. One place might have great gear, and then you like, oh, that was awesome. Now I'm going on this trip over here, and you order the same thing, and it's garbage. So we wanted to be able to control that quality, which is why we want to kind of do it all ourselves and actually manage the inventory ourselves.
Exit strategy?
I mean, at this point, we're focused on building the business. We definitely think that I think most likely acquisition. There are folks out there that would be interested in something like this. I don't know if you're familiar with the Dirt and places like that. We're looking at a partnership with them right now. It wouldn't really take place for a little while, but they're the largest kind of campground review and directory site. But they're a venture-backed version. It's not just a listing of campgrounds. They have an interesting model that's like reward-based for reviews, and then they're getting into the campground booking. So we're looking, partners like that potentially. If we can partner with them and see how that goes, those are the kinds of companies that we think might be interested down the road. Mm-hmm.
Kind of returning to the gear closets, are they standalone kind of entities, actually staffed by one person at, you're calling them key destinations?
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of places around Maine.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is here, the Quarry Road Recreation,
Mm-hmm.
200 acres, that's in the process of really developing year-round range of recreational opportunities, including paddling.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's the difference between a gear closet and a gear hub?
Right. Well, and it's interesting. So we think we're calling them all gear closets right now, but they range, and we have basically 3 different versions of that. So we have the hubs, which are the ones that are in the kind of gateways, which will be where the maintenance and more of that takes place and have more staff. And then the outposts, which would be in the destinations, and those can be varying sizes too. We could potentially have these outposts that don't necessarily carry all the gear. Maybe there is nowhere to paddle nearby. We're not going to carry the paddling gear. And then we're also looking going the other way and having these kind of urban microsites that are like more downtown. They're more of the community location, not necessarily carrying all the gear, but being there as almost like a modern travel agency. So the thing, the gear closet, like we call it that, but they can come in many forms.
I love the job creation aspect of this with the gear.
Mm-hmm.
It helps gear closets, even if it's one person.
Right. Yeah, and we think that there will be a lot of people on the ground, and there's maybe at some of these smaller destinations it's a one person, but some of the kind of gateway hubs would definitely be more than that. You're looking at customer service and also the maintenance of the gear and all of that. Mm-hmm. Anything else?
Well, unless there's any other questions, please give a round of applause for Henry.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to Henry. I thought that was a really wonderful tech talk, particularly I think important for us here in this region, the state of Maine. We all know how important our natural resources are, recreation and hospitality are to Maine's economy, and really a driver in that economy. So I certainly would love to see a gear closet in Waterville or the region in the future. So please let us know anything we can do to facilitate that. So with that said, don't feel like you have to run. Stick around and chat. I believe we have a few pizzas left. And likewise, if you want any follow-up information or discussion, just let us know, and we're happy to provide that adequate information. Otherwise, we will see you next month, as usual, on the second Thursday of every month here downtown Waterville at 10 Water Street in downtown. So thank you all, and have a good evening, and drive safe on the roads.